Hey kids, what time is it?
Hey, it's Edson with GeekTime TV. Back here with the Acolyte, episode 6. And not a lot happens in this episode. It's basically a lot like episode 4, where they went back and forth between the two parties going through the forest interaction. And this one, it goes back and forth between the Sith Lord. I'm going to call him the Sith Lord because he says his real name is not Quimir, so I'm going to call him the Sith Lord. So it goes back and forth between the Sith Lord and Osha, and then also it goes back with between Sol and May, and basically, a lot of dialogue and just like kind of like staying in one place. Them on this planet, Sol and May on the ship, and not much goes advanced past this. But there's 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 some information that we're given, but not really a lot that we didn't know before. But here it goes. So Osha finds herself in this cave somewhere. They actually call the planet Unknown Planet, so we don't know where it is, but it's basically where the Sith Lord has set up where he lives, his headquarters, so to speak. And again, this show continues to struggle with the passage of time because we need to. We're being asked to believe that after she was force pushed by May in the last episode and fell unconscious, she was unconscious throughout him picking her up off the forest at Kofar, carrying him through the forest, putting him on the ship, traveling on the ship to this planet, bringing her to this cave. Not sure how he managed through the water, but anyways, bringing her to this cave, and then sometime after that, she regains conscious. So it seems kind of weird compared to the fact that characters in this show are shrugging off stun blasts left and right. So, anyways, that's just one kind of little thing that we need to kind of like get past. But there's an interaction between. It's obvious that he's trying to, I guess, if you want to say, seduce Osha into thinking the way he thinks about the Force, as opposed to which is different than the Jedi. He's completely non-threatening to her. He even lets her have his lightsaber without stopping her or anything like that. And at one point, he actually gets her to get angry and to use it, which is part of what getting her to go towards, we'll say, the dark side of the Force. He doesn't like calling it but basically that's what it is. And it's basically he's like trying to tell her that there's more than one way of looking at using the Force. The Jedi do it one way, but there's more than one way, and the way he explains it to her is that using strong emotions like anger, fear, desire, that's another way to make you strong with the Force, which is what he is advocating as opposed to the Jedi. He also reveals to her that at some point he was a Jedi, but he was quote unquote thrown away by them. He's trying to get similarity, a commonality between him and her, because he's saying that much like what the Jedi did to her. Of course, at first she objects to that. She says she didn't get thrown away. It was just that she failed as a Jedi, so that she had to leave the order. But basically, he's saying that is the same thing, because she couldn't use the Force and do the things the way the Jedi want. Then obviously they discarded her. But it's just his way of trying to get her to come to think that like he did. He also talks about her sister May, and how at first he thought that he could get her to think the way he get her to, or he thought that she wanted what he wanted, which is like get a master and apprentice in the ways of the Force that he's advocating, but all she wanted really was revenge. And so apparently, well, he's kind of saying, he's given up on her sister May and now trying the same thing on Osha to see if he can get her to fall in line with what he wants, thereby making her his apprentice or acolyte, I guess. She also sees the scar on his back, and asks him how he got it, and he kind of he he kind of gives her like a non-answer. It's like, well, how do you think how do you think I got it? And she says, well, you look like you got stabbed in the back. And he kind of like leads her to think that that's what it was, almost like getting betrayed by his master. And we'll get back to that a little bit later about what happens in this episode that might link to this. I'm not sure. So basically, he's kind of trying to talk her into the way he looks at it in terms of the Force, as opposed which is totally opposite of what the Jedi do, basically going through the seduction into the dark side of the Force is what's going on here. I'll get to the other part about its helmet a little bit later on, and then conversely on this side of it, we have Sol and May, and it's hard to know at what point. Well, did he know that she was May all this time and not Osha, because she's trying to disguise herself? I'm not sure what her plan is, but it looks like she was trying to disguise herself as Osha, trying to gain his trust, and then maybe kill him as a way to complete what her original mission was to kill the 4 Jedi on her list, who she blames that did that killed her family way back 16 years ago. But it's still a contradiction, because I'm not sure. So is she still trying to follow the mission that the Sith Lord gave her, or is she just trying her personal mission of revenge? And what is it that she's going to do after that? And this comes on the heels of last episode, or the episode before that, saying that she's going to surrender to the Jedi and forget this whole thing. So it's basically a bundle of contradictions. So I'm guessing that her plan was just to try to kill him and then leave. Well, obviously, she would be a fugitive after that. At some point, Sol does reveal that he knows that she's not Osha, she's May, and he hits her with a stun gun, and it's hard to tell whether he knew it all along, whether there was something that happened in their conversation back and forth, of whether that tipped him off. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be kind of an obvious thing. He's trying to, at first, he's trying to communicate back to Coruscant about what happened, about how all the Jedi died, but the communications goes down. At a later point, the whole power to the ship goes down, and it seemed it seems like it doesn't look like that anyone's like actually sabotaging the ship, but it just kind of just happens at certain points, almost like the writers are using that as a way to change the conversation between the two, or to make things happen. And he is also kind of like a bundle of contradictions, because at one point he tells Osha, okay, it's time he says it's time for me to go to the High Council and tell him everything, supposedly what happened, what really happened 16 years ago on the planet where Osha and May were growing up, and he says it's time to admit to the High Council everything that happened, and yet afterwards he purposely turns off his transponder so that the Jedi can't find him, the rescue team can't find him, and he wants to go off it alone. So it's, again, a bundle of contradictions. He finally figures out, or maybe he always knew, and maybe he always knew that she was May, and he was trying to get her to, he was just trying to get to earn her. I'm not sure exactly what his point was in kind of like playing along with her. Because he does eventually just stun her, revealing that he knows that it's not Osha, that it's May, and then he binds her down on the cot with her wrists down, just so he could talk to her, and he no longer wants to go back to the High Council. He wants to do something else in terms of like rescuing Osha. So that leads me to think that at some point he didn't always think that she was May, but at some point he discovered it and his plans got changed, something like that. But maybe I'm just trying to make too much sense of the episode. Then also in between those two settings, we also have the Jedi Master from Coruscant, who was giving orders to Master Sol all this time, Vernesta Rowe. She comes to the planet Kofar where they had all where the events from last episode happened. Sees all the dead Jedi there. Does say that that she wants the bodies prepared for proper burial, but I never see anyone kind of looking around for all the all the lightsabers that got dropped or anything like that. So I have no idea what happened to the lightsabers that all those Jedi who died, including Yord, including the Padawan Jackie, all the Jedi Knights. Don't know what happened to all those lightsabers. Maybe they'll reveal it at the end. Maybe they'll just forget about it. And probably the dumbest thing of this episode is what you see here, which is like, I don't know whose idea this was, but I think it's kind of stupid. So while she's investigating with the dead bodies, trying to figure out what exactly happened, one of the creatures that had attacked the Sith Lord last episode attacks out of the blue. We don't know why. It's kind of like a convenient thing to push the plot forward, I guess, because supposedly they're attracted to light, but no one had their lightsabers on or anything like that. So they just attacks out of the blue, just so that she could show that her skills of drawing out her lightsaber. And her lightsaber is a little bit unique because it's not just a straight laser. It's like it weaves into it curves into a whip and slices the creature in half. I don't know why they had to go out of their way to tell us that this has a different ability that it weaves into a whip. But I'm wondering if this is related to what I said happened between the Sith Lord and Osha, where she sees the scar on his back. The scar seems to be a very jaggedy, kind of like jaggedy, rounded scar, not like a straight lightsaber wound, which might be like them saying that it happened as a result of Vernestra Rowe fighting with him. So maybe there's a link between the two, that she was his master at one time, because the Sith Lord does admit to Osha that he was a Jedi a long time ago, before they got rid of him. So maybe he had a fight with Vernestra Rowe. Maybe she was his master originally, and used this kind of like whip-like lightsaber to cause that scar. And I can only assume they showed us this not to just show it once, but it might come back. Probably come back in the last episode. She gets involved in a fight, and then finally, the very last scene, or at the end of the episode, just quick before we get to this very last scene, like I said, contradiction with Master Soul. He changes his mind. He doesn't want to go to the High Council anymore. He turns off the transponder on the ship so Vernestra Rowe and her search party can't find them. Goes into hyperspace, and tells May, as she's like bound as a prisoner there for him, tells May that the two of them are going to go out to find Osha, rescue Osha, and find her previous master, the Sith Lord. But and then he says, before we do all this, we're going to have a long talk, which I think is kind of obvious. Leads me to think that the very next episode, episode 7, is going to be another flashback episode to cover all the information that Soul is going to be telling May about what exactly happened 16 years ago on her home planet that we don't know. What we haven't seen from we only saw it from Osha's point of view, so what we haven't seen from Soul's point of view. Was there something that Soul really did and the rest of the Jedi really did that deserve the hate that May gives them, that she wants to kill them all? Soul seems to indicate in previous episodes that something did happen that he wants to admit. So I think in episode 7 is going to be like what, unbeknownst to contrary to episode 3, the last flashback episode, what really happened from kind of the Jedi point of view. Not sure if we're also going to see the Sith Lord there. I think we probably will. And then, of course, it's got 2 more episodes, so that will be a flashback episode, and then we'll have the final episode. And the very last scene is that we see here. So prior to this scene, the Sith Lord had explained to Osha how he actually says the material cortosis, which we mentioned in the last video, that the helmet is made out of. That there's a cortosis vein that he sees in the cave that he's been able to mine to build this, to create this helmet. He says the helmet does deflect lightsabers, but it's also a sensory deprivation device, which when you wear it, all that's there is what you bring with it, your feeling, your emotions, your thoughts, and nothing else, because it kind of blocks everything else out from outside. It kind of like similar to, I think it's like a callback to like when Luke Skywalker went into the cave in Dagobah, and Luke asks, he's curious. He asks Yoda, "What will I find there?" And I think Yoda says something like, "Only what you bring with you." Something similar to that is when you put this helmet on, and it could be kind of like the first big step towards Osha being seduced by this kind of dark side of the Force that the Sith Lord is trying to get her to think like. Because at the very last scene, she does put the helmet on and she starts to does this like heavy breathing, very similar to what Darth Vader does when he wears his helmet. So that's another callback, but I'm not sure if it's actually her just like definitely going the way of the dark side of the Force, or it's just kind of like, or is she more just curious about what she's going to feel like when she wears the helmet. I'm not sure about that, but so anyways, it does look like second to last episode, which is episode 7 next week. It'll be a flashback episode back to 16 years ago when the twins were children, and then we'll have the final episode. And I don't know for sure if this series, by the time it ends, will tell you everything about this Sith Lord, which would be unfortunate, because I think if this show was centered more on his character, more from his point of view instead of the twins, it would probably be a lot more interesting, because he does have a unique backstory. Was a Jedi. What actually happened to have him turn into kind of like going to the dark side, much like Anakin did. I think it would have been more interesting if we kind of looked at it from his point of view. He's definitely a much more interesting character than the twins are. The actor does a great job with this character, and I hope we do find out more about him as the final 2 episodes come. I'm still not convinced that Osha and May's mother. I still think that Osha and May's mother still is someone that's out there that's going to come back into this show, but maybe I'm completely wrong about that. I don't know, but we're going to see. Let's see what they reveal next week on what I think will be another flashback episode. All right, I guess that's it. Like I said, this episode didn't seem to a lot to happen, just conversations going back and forth between these 4 people, I should say. The Sith Lord and Osha on one side, Sol and May on the other side, and not much kind of got advanced. We didn't really get to know much more than we already knew. I mean, the revelation that the Sith Lord was a Jedi, I think we all already knew that he had some training as a Jedi before he turned. Again, contradictions with the characters, kind of like are kind of like the problem with the show, and it continues to be with the show. But we're gonna see what happens in the last 2 weeks. Hopefully, it'll end on a better 2 episodes than we've seen so far. Okay, that's it from me this time. Let me know what you thought about the episode in the comment section, and what I got wrong, because I know I got a lot of things wrong since I only watched it once and kind of just babbling off the top of my head. And I thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching GeekTime TV. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, make sure to check the little bell icon anytime someone from our network drops new content here. Want some GeekTime swag? Check out the merchandise available in the GeekTime TV store, linked in the channel description below. Share GeekTime TV with friends, and as always, thank you for your support. We'll see you soon.